this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to use fondant icing to decorate a fairy cake or biscuit. So you're going to need a circular cutter, like a scone cutter or a cookie cutter, a rolling pin, ideally silicone but wooden is fine too, and if you have them, little stamp cutters, heart shapes are perfect for this, but otherwise you can use a butter knife. You also need 3 colours of fondant icing: white, yellow and black. You want to start off by rolling out some yellow icing. You want to make sure that it's the same thickness all the way around, so that you don't have a piece that's too thin or a piece that's too thick. And then you just cut your circular disc. Now you want this disc to be about the same size as the top of your cake or biscuit that you're decorating. You can use a palette knife to carefully ease it off of the surface you've been working on. If you don't have a silicone mat like this to work on, then what you can do is just place some icing sugar down to prevent it from sticking any more than that. Once you've got your circular disc cut out, we're going to move on to your stripes. So the circular yellow disc is the body of the bumblebee, and now we're going to create some stripes. So again, rolling it out so it's the same thickness all the way around. And then I use a palette knife to trim off the edges. You could use a butter knife for this. I'm also going to go back to my circular cutter because this is going to give me exactly the right width that I need for my stripes. And from there you just cut a couple of chunky stripes. You could do 2, 3, you can maybe even fit in 4, but obviously the more stripes you have, the thinner you'll have to go with the icing, which might make it a little bit more delicate and trickier to move. So here you can use water to act as a glue so that your icing sticks together. You should use a food safe paintbrush to do this rather than one that's coming out of your craft drawer. And you just place it on top of your yellow disc of icing. I'm just using the edge of the palette knife here to just neaten up the edges, make it look a bit smarter. And now I just need to make a couple of eyes and the wings. So I'm going to start with the eyes first of all. Try and make sure they're the same size pieces of fondant so you've got even eyes. I'm going to roll them into a little sphere, just in the palm of my hand, place them where I want them on the bee, again using the water to act as the glue, and then just gently flatten them down a little bit so that they stick in place. I'm using a little tool just to create a little divot or dent into the icing, because I also want to place a piece of black icing in the middle. So just really small amounts here to make my bumblebee look a little bit more friendly. Now, it's a top tip here, especially when you're using lighter icing after darker icing. You want to make sure that you're wiping down your surface in between, because otherwise your white icing, for example, will pick up the darker colours and you won't get as good an effect as you might like. So for the wings, I'm going to use a little heart-shaped cutter. Again, if you haven't got one like this, it doesn't matter. You could just use a butter knife to create the same shape. So I've rolled out a bit of white icing and then 2 little wings to stick on top of the body. And it's as simple as that. So quite simple and straightforward. You could probably use a lot of these techniques to create some other animals onto your cupcakes or biscuits. Have a think about the tools you've got and what shapes you could create, and therefore what animals you could create on top of your cakes.